I'm Steph Garcia with D1 Ticker and Athletic Director U, and I am so delighted to be joined by Chris Plonsky, Chief of Staff for the University of Texas. Go Longhorns.
Go hook 'em.
So Chris, I'm so excited to talk to you about being a woman in college athletics and female leadership. And so let's start from the beginning. You've been in this industry for a while. You've seen it evolve. Did you ever imagine that you would be in this kind of role?
It's been an incredible journey, and I owe a lot of people, I think most of us who work in this wonderful business industry in higher ed and college athletics, have a lot of people to thank. I had no vision of what this could be. Very typical, grew up in a large, kind of rambunctious family, 4 younger sisters, but both of my parents emphasized higher ed. So we were going to college no matter what. I loved my experience at Kent State, grew up in Pennsylvania and Northeast Ohio. Wanted to be a journalist. My dad had been a college athlete, and he exposed me to sports at a very young age. I mean, I asked for baseball mitts when I was 5 for my birthday. I got them, so I could play catch with him in the backyard. But when you think about what athletics was in that era, mid-'60s, heading into the 70s, Title IX didn't even, get enacted until 1972, and that was the game changer. I was still in high school when that happened, and I do remember talking with my teammates who were all on teams informally at that point. I think there'll ever be scholarships for women in sports the way they do for the guys. Well, sure enough, that reality came. So no grand plan, no vision, but certainly along the way, so many people paved the path for all of us to get the opportunities we have today.
Talk about your leadership style. How do you like to lead? And do you think that is at all different from how men lead?
I've been very lucky to be around both men and women leaders who were significant in terms of their talent and expertise, but also their passion for paying it forward. The opportunities that I've been given by coaches and professors and administrators all sort of crafted my attitude about leadership and what leadership could be. I think it starts with relationship building. You can't really be a leader until you impact people in a very personal way. And that starts simply. It starts in your household. You learn respect and tolerance. You learn how to be a teammate. You learn at times how to lead. You learn how to do things the right way. So ethics and integrity are all a part of that. I'm glad I had a really disciplined household. I mean, my parents were strict. They were wonderful and fun, but it was not a democracy, if you know what I mean. They were in charge. And yet the lessons that they passed on to me and my sisters as I went through my life were really impactful because I remembered them. And most of them were about, again, communication, respect, playing a role, and being helpful, using your skill, but never hurting people, I guess, is really the nutshell of it.
Pivoting off of that issue of ethics and values, have you seen any traits in women in this industry or in other industries that can sometimes derail their career?
I think that athletics is a complex area. It's business, it's entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's people. So it's how people receive you, how you impact people, and how you can get a group to be motivated to move in the direction for the greater good. I've never coached, and I tease many people today, including people on our staff at Texas, that there are probably many children better off today that I didn't coach because the temperament that is required for that, it really is taking care of other people's children. Mm-hmm. But I've watched coaches, and I've probably learned more from coaches than I've learned from many other people. About how they have to treat everybody the same in a way to get the team goals achieved, and yet be able to handle and manage everybody's idiosyncrasies in a group. In administration, you have to have that skill and trait. But what young people staff look for in leaders are clear messaging, motivation. You can't just talk the talk. You've got to walk the walk. So no one in athletics should pretend that there's any easy path. It's hard work. You've got to get your hands dirty at the beginning. You've got to do the little things in order to achieve the big things. But I think females have, I think, naturally this innate patience and thoughtfulness. And it may just be how we're wired. But I do think we approach complexities in a different manner. And it's not always unemotional. I think emotion can be very good. Athletics is a place where you're allowed to display passion. Certainly if you watched any of the video from the Football Foundation inductees last night, the relentlessness and the just urgency that those men played with, well, no wonder they're being honored, and the coaches who coach them. So I think there is a methodology of leadership that has to combine a lot of things, but you've really got to be able to read a room. You can't overreact to things. People want to see a calmness, and yet they want to see a firmness. I think people want to be led, but they also want to be sure that their leaders are the people that are doing things the right way, doing the hard right instead of the easy wrong. And that's where the ethics and integrity and the values come in.
Do you feel like there is just that this is such a high stakes game for women? Because you can't be seen as too nurturing, but you also can't be seen as too cold.
Yeah, again, it's tough. But I also think it's tough for men in our business, too. I mean, what our business demands today compared to when I got into it in 1976 as an undergraduate, it's night and day. And the issues, the constituencies, and the difference in our constituencies from politicians to donors to your fans to faculty to staff, the media, which is my background, the media's changed. The thing that is tough for me today is there is a cynicism, I think, about college athletics that I hope we can tamp down. The word exploitation really bothers me. I think any of us who work day to day around these wonderful young 17 to 23-year-olds know we're not in an exploitation business. Do we demand a lot of them for their opportunities? Of course. But I know what college athletics taught me. I know my boss, Chris Delcani, he also was a student athlete in college, and he articulates all the time about what it taught him. So when you roll forward to today, our young people, men and women, have to know that most of us were in their shoes at one point. Mm-hmm. Not all of us were on full scholarships. We had to get a degree. We had to pay our way through school and get to play sports. But that taught us something along the way. And I think that's what makes college athletics still today and that college experience so valuable.
How did you navigate power structures early in your career versus later?
You know, that word power can be very overused, and it's apropos for your question. Power is really leadership. So as I, again, began to work in this business, got a great break because there weren't many women. I didn't see many women in the role that I wanted, which was being in a publicist role. Guys gave me that opportunity. My coach, who was a female at Kent State, who was also the women's AD and the field hockey coach, go think about those jobs, taught 7 classes. She was the one who gently said, hey, you can look at this as a potential career. So that was the first big break. But after that, it was a lot of men who gave me opportunities to be hired into roles. So as you watch what they were looking for in their employees, they expected you to do your job, but to also work beyond job descriptions. So I learned that early. If you just do a job as described, that's not near enough. It's like today, getting a college degree, that's just a baseline. You've got to have a cachet of other things on your resume to be successful. So navigating really had a lot to do about making sure that you did your job, asked to do more if it was appropriate, And that's really what I tell young people today. Like, you'll get noticed if you work beyond job description and do your job extraordinarily well. Again, be good to your teammates, be good to your fellow employees, do what your boss says to do. And if you have questions, ask them. But don't be rogue, and you'll find success. It's pretty simple formula.
Yes. Did you ever feel any imposter syndrome at any point?
I get asked that a lot because people say, why have you been in Austin for, this is my 34th year? And first of all, I love the place. When you're at an academic institution with the reputation of the University of Texas, such a pride in that place. And our alums truly feel like it changed the arc of their life. But I always knew, I think, the parameters of my abilities, what I was really good at. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't gently pushed into some jobs or pushed to look at some opportunities that I never thought I could do. Mike Tranghese at the Big East gave me one. He said, I want you to get out of PR and get into administration. And I said, Mike, please get out of my office. That's not me. Little gentle subway push in the back, and he said, you can do this. That move allowed me to be able to come back to Texas as an administrator. So sometimes you need to listen to others who see something in you. They don't see you as an imposter. I've never really spent a lot of time self-focusing. I've been more worried about, was I pleasing the people that I've been responsible to? So that you can avoid imposter syndrome if you do just that. I just have been lucky, been given opportunities to stretch, and to do things that some of them had no blueprint. When Doloss Dodds hired me to do external, I told him I've never sold a sponsorship in my life. He goes, well, you can figure it out, can't you? Yes, sir. Had a great sales team and host communications, now Learfield. That was an amazing ride, and sometimes it's more fun to build than maintain.
Absolutely.
So I don't ever feel like I've missed something because I didn't leap over a fence and be an athletic director over all programs. I think I've been effective and knowledgeable about what I've been asked to do by my bosses, and I'm very, very comfortable doing that.
How have you built resilience and confidence throughout your career trajectory?
It helps to be the eldest of 5 kids because you learn early on that what you do is noticed and you've got to set the example. So again, those early lessons apply. I just feel like you can be very natural in that setting, and you try to be happy and positive. That's so important in our day-to-day. I mean, life is tough enough than to bring negative energy. And again, there's a lot of people that need that around them. I look at our young people today, they're under a different level of stress and pressure. They come from all socioeconomic backgrounds, especially coming through COVID. What a lesson for all of us, just watching the reaction to COVID. We all had to be better than we ever thought we were in each of our jobs during that period in order to survive. And in some cases, we discovered a lot about not only our kids, but ourselves in terms of what we could get through. And we know we can be better, and we can do our business differently, too.
The industry of college athletics is going through so much change right now. And some of the changes are not super popular, but they're necessary. So how have you, in your career, pushed for change that maybe wasn't welcomed with open arms, but was really necessary?
Yeah. Well, you can start with the whole notion of women's athletics. I mean, we're approaching the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Did anybody really think at some point we would be seeing sold out crowds at Final Fours or volleyball championships that are getting TV coverage and the things that are just available? I mean, look at our Olympic teams. I mean, the impact, not just of the men, but of the women for our U.S. national team and many others, because we're sending college student athletes to Olympics for representation of their countries. And Absolutely. It's so much fun. Even with a year delay, Tokyo was unbelievable to watch, as was Rio. And when that Olympic Games comes back to our United States in 28, that's going to be another thrill again. So we've got a nice long runway to get more done by 28. But I think overall the challenges, it's not been easy. When I was trying to publicize women's athletics in the mid-'80s, first of all, we had to be really good, which we were at Texas. We were lucky. But it took convincing. We used to chuckle. The guys were like bankers, like they could open their doors and people would come, set the hours and they'll show up. We were like insurance salesmen. Like we had to go knock on every door. There wasn't a church, a Rotary Club, a downtown association that we didn't bring our coaches and student athletes to convince them this was worthwhile watching. And then you had to establish credibility by being talented and being good. So we taught our women how to be in front of donors and be in front of media and articulate the passion that they applied to sport. And once women began to be successful and get attention, which was going to happen through success, the opportunities for others to say, I want to work in that business. And what's the most fun part now is to see our former student athletes who are now in coaching or administration or some role that they saw while going through our college athletic system, where they said, I can be an academic counselor or a marketer or an administrator or an AD. So we're seeing all of that now in this generation of young people.
Well, I am one of those people. I am a former student athlete who wants to be an administrator. So what advice do you have for me?
Well, first of all, it's built in your passion for what it is. You loved it, you reaped the benefits of it, you applied yourself, and you're very successful. You articulate what you want to be and what you want to do. When I was the women's AD at Texas, I used to tell our assistant coaches of our women's sports, if you want to be a head coach, you need to tell us that, because there is a different preparation path if that's where you eventually want to be. We've got to help you prepare for those opportunities. The same in every other job. So if you want to be an athletic director, or you want to be a senior women administrator or an executive over a unit, articulate that to the people that matter. And trust me, we are in the prepare the succession plan phase right now. If you look at the number of wonderful longtime ADs who have retired and commissioners over the last probably 4 years, the next up, as we say, has to be prepared. Well, the next up for the next up is now in position. So you got to spend a lot of time aside from your job talking to other individuals to get those mentorship opportunities, do every professional development opportunity you can have, from NACDA to things like this SBJ Learfield Forum. Meet people, get yourself networked, and it will happen. But articulating your goals is very, very important.
This has just been a conversation full of so much wisdom, and I'm so honored. So thank you so much for joining us, Chris, and hook 'em.
Thank you. Hook 'em horns.